Ryan Carter wasn't supposed to be home. His business trip was booked until Friday, but a canceled meeting brought him back to Pittsburgh late Wednesday night. He parked quietly, thinking he might surprise Emily with her favorite takeout. The house looked calm, porch light glowing like always. But inside, something felt wrong. A faint glow seeped from the study. Ryan stepped closer, expecting to see his wife reading. Instead, his laptop was open, files transferring to a small device. Emily stood with gloves on, a stranger whispering behind her. Ryan froze. His entire world suddenly shifted. Ryan slipped out of sight before they noticed him, heart racing as he backed into the hall. Every instinct screamed to storm in, to demand answers, but shock nailed his feet to the floor. He didn't want to believe what he'd seen. Didn't want to think Emily, the woman he built a life with, could betray him. Quietly, he grabbed the food bag he'd brought in and left it on the counter, pretending nothing had happened. That night, he lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the moment again and again. The morning felt eerily normal. Emily hummed while making coffee, asked about his trip, and smiled like nothing was wrong. Ryan watched her closely, every movement laced with doubt. He wanted to scream at her to ask who that man was, but fear of the answer kept his mouth shut. Instead, he nodded, acted casual, and forced a smile. Yet behind his calm face, suspicion dug deeper. He couldn't forget the gloves, the whispering, and the flashing progress bar on his laptop screen. The secret hung between them, heavy and invisible. When Emily left for errands, Ryan hurried into the study. His laptop sat closed on the desk, appearing untouched. But when he opened it, the truth glared back. Entire folders from his newest project were missing, replaced with empty gaps. These weren't just random files, they were the backbone of a multi-million-dollar deal he was finalizing. His stomach twisted as realization hit. Someone wanted his work, and Emily had helped them get it. The betrayal stung like fire, but a sliver of doubt remained. Could he be wrong? Could there be another explanation? At his office later that day, Ryan overheard whispers that chilled him. A rival company had leaked details of a project eerily similar to his. Associates questioned how competitors could know so much so fast. Ryan stayed quiet, but his mind raced. The stolen files now made terrible sense. Back at home, Emily greeted him with warmth, as if everything was fine. He watched her more closely than ever, noticing her forced smiles, her distracted glances, her quick exits to check her phone. He wanted to confront her, but fear paralyzed him again. That weekend, Ryan decided to test her. He casually mentioned a fake business plan, one he never intended to pursue. Emily reacted with little interest, but the next day, Ryan overheard a colleague discussing that same plan, leaked to the rival company. His chest tightened. Now he knew. Emily wasn't just involved, she was feeding information directly. The trust that held their marriage together cracked wide open, but Ryan didn't explode. Instead, he clenched his jaw and kept quiet. If she was betraying him, he needed undeniable proof before making his move. Ryan began to watch her every step. He noticed late-night phone calls where she spoke in hushed tones. He saw her leaving the house dressed neatly for mysterious errands. One afternoon, curiosity overcame fear, and he followed her. His car trailed hers quietly until she parked at a small cafe downtown. Through the window, Ryan saw Emily sit across from the same man he'd seen in the study. They leaned close, talking quickly, their body language tense. Ryan's stomach turned. This wasn't innocent, it was deliberate. He now knew his fears weren't imagined. A private investigator confirmed what Ryan suspected. The man Emily met was an executive at a rival company, one known for poaching ideas and undercutting competitors. The files taken from Ryan's laptop had already been integrated into their pitch. Rage burned through him, but mixed with it was heartbreak. Why would Emily, his wife, do this? Was it greed, fear, or something he couldn't yet see? Ryan wasn't ready to face her. Not yet. Instead, he planned carefully, determined to expose the truth without destroying everything at once. The weight nearly crushed him. Ryan started documenting everything. He saved security footage, bank statements, and computer logs. Each piece of evidence pointed to betrayal. Yet, as he gathered proof, a nagging voice whispered, maybe she was coerced. Maybe she didn't understand what she was caught in. At night, Ryan pretended to sleep, while Emily slipped out of bed to check her phone in another room. He listened, heart pounding, torn between anger and denial. His once perfect home now felt like enemy territory, every wall holding secrets he didn't ask for. Silence became his only defense. Days stretched into weeks. At work, Ryan noticed investors pulling back. Rumors spread that his company was vulnerable, that his competitors had gained the upper hand. Each time he walked into a meeting, he saw doubt in the faces around the table. His empire, the one he'd worked years to build, was slipping away. And all the while, Emily smiled at him each night, as though nothing was happening. It was a performance. And Ryan played his part too, pretending not to notice, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The breaking point came when Ryan checked their shared bank account. Large, unexplained deposits had appeared, traced back to a shell company tied to his rival. Emily's name was attached to every transfer. Ryan's stomach churned. This wasn't accidental. She was profiting off his downfall. Yet, instead of confronting her that night, Ryan forced himself to stay calm. He needed to know everything: the scope, the players, and most importantly, why. The thought of his wife selling out his life's work haunted him. But even worse was the silence between them. Ryan staged a trap. He created another set of fake documents, encrypted with tracking markers, and left them accessible on his laptop. Within 24 hours, those files appeared on his rival's servers. The trap had worked, and the trail led straight back to Emily's computer. He stared at the evidence, torn between heartbreak and grim satisfaction. The truth was undeniable. She was involved. Yet even with proof, Ryan couldn't bring himself to confront her. Not yet. He needed to understand what held her in this betrayal: fear, greed, or something deeper. Ryan finally confronted the stranger. He waited outside the cafe, and when Emily left, Ryan followed the man to his car. A quick search revealed his identity: Mark Benson, a ruthless executive with a history of corporate sabotage. The realization hit Ryan like a punch. Emily wasn't just caught up in something small, she was entangled with one of the most dangerous players in the industry. Ryan now understood the scale of the betrayal. This wasn't just about their marriage. It was about survival, and the stakes were higher than he'd ever imagined. Ryan spiraled between two emotions: fury at Emily and fear of losing everything. Late at night, he stared at her while she slept, wondering if he ever really knew her at all. The woman beside him felt like a stranger. His flaw, his tendency to avoid confrontation, chained him in place. He wanted to yell, to demand answers, but instead he buried the rage, convincing himself tomorrow would be the day. But tomorrow always came and went. Each delay only gave Emily and Mark more power over him, leaving him weaker. His private investigator brought new information that shook Ryan. Emails showed Emily expressing hesitation, even reluctance. She wrote about not wanting to continue, about fear of losing Ryan if he found out. But each time Mark pressured her, reminding her of debts she had kept secret. Ryan's anger wavered. Was she a willing traitor, or a trapped pawn? The lines blurred, and his certainty cracked. Now the betrayal was no longer simple. It was messy, layered with manipulation and secrets he had never been told. Ryan realized he still didn't have the full story. At the midpoint, Ryan hit a breaking moment. He couldn't take the silence anymore. One evening, he hinted at the missing files, testing Emily's reaction. Her face tightened, just for a second, but she quickly brushed it off, claiming exhaustion. That fleeting look told Ryan everything. She knew he suspected. The game had shifted. For the first time, she looked at him differently, wary, cautious, as if he were no longer her husband but her enemy. The confrontation he had avoided for weeks loomed closer, and Ryan realized he couldn't run from it forever. Ryan doubled down on his investigation, combing through her phone when she left it unattended. What he found made his chest ache. Emily wasn't just passing files, she was in constant contact with Mark, reporting Ryan's moves almost daily. Yet mixed in were desperate messages where she begged him to stop pressuring her. The duality tore Ryan apart. He couldn't reconcile the Emily he loved with the Emily in those messages. It left him more confused than before. But one truth stood clear. His business was collapsing, and he had to act now. The rival company announced a major project launch, eerily similar to Ryan's. Investors who once trusted him now pulled funding. In the boardroom, whispers of failure circled him like vultures. Ryan felt humiliation sink into his bones. The empire he had built with sweat and sacrifice was crumbling because of secrets hidden under his own roof. The urge to expose Emily boiled. But still he hesitated. His flaw, fear of confrontation, paralyzed him. He wanted to protect her, even as she destroyed him. That contradiction nearly broke him, but the clock was running out. Emily's behavior shifted. She grew distant, colder, as though preparing herself for the storm ahead. Ryan noticed how she avoided eye contact, how she slipped into the study late at night with trembling hands. He watched quietly, unsure if she was guilty or terrified. For the first time, he wondered if Mark wasn't just manipulating her professionally, but threatening her personally. His anger softened, but only slightly. Love and betrayal warred inside him, each pulling him in opposite directions. And still, he kept silent, trapped by his fear of breaking it all open. Ryan convinced himself she might still be innocent. Maybe she was being forced. Maybe Mark held something over her that she couldn't escape. He clung to this false resolution like a lifeline, hoping to preserve the image of the woman he married. He told himself he would give her one more chance, one more opportunity to tell the truth. But when another fake file he planted appeared at his rival's office, the illusion shattered. Denial could no longer save him. Emily was in this. And his silence had only fed the betrayal. The real twist came when Ryan uncovered the final piece. His trusted business partner Daniel was behind it all. Daniel had recruited Emily, using her debts to manipulate her. It was Daniel who pushed Mark to pressure her. Daniel who orchestrated every leak. Emily wasn't the mastermind, she was the leverage. Ryan's chest hollowed. Betrayal from his wife was painful, but betrayal from his closest ally cut deeper. His entire world, personal and professional, was rotten at the core. And now he knew who the real enemy was. The question was how to fight back. Ryan realized Daniel had played him for years. Small decisions, subtle nudges, and misplaced trust had all led to this. The betrayal wasn't sudden, it had been woven into his life slowly, piece by piece, and Emily had been caught in the trap. Rage burned hotter than ever, but clarity came with it. Ryan finally understood. His fear of confrontation had given Daniel power. His silence had allowed betrayal to grow unchecked. Now he had a choice, stay paralyzed or fight. And for the first time, Ryan felt ready to act. Ryan dug deeper, pulling records Daniel never expected him to see. He uncovered financial trails, secret meetings, and proof of Daniel's manipulation. Buried in those files were Emily's reluctant responses, her resistance, and her fear. Ryan felt sick, but a spark of compassion lit within him. She wasn't blameless, but she wasn't entirely guilty either. She had been cornered, trapped between loyalty to him and fear of losing everything. Ryan now saw the betrayal differently. It wasn't just about greed. It wasn't just about greed. It was about control. And Daniel was the one pulling every string. Ryan planned his move carefully. He compiled every shred of evidence, arranging it into a timeline that revealed the full story. He prepared a presentation that would expose Daniel's treachery to the board, but most of all, he prepared himself for the personal fallout. His marriage, his company, his reputation, all of it balanced on what came next. For the first time in weeks, Ryan felt steady. Fear still lurked inside him, but it no longer ruled him. He was ready to confront not just Daniel, but Emily too. The reckoning was near. On the night before the meeting, Ryan confronted Emily privately. He laid the evidence in front of her. She broke down, confessing everything. The debts, the pressure, the threats. She had felt trapped, terrified of losing him, and desperate to survive. Ryan's heart cracked. He saw the woman he loved, broken by choices she never wanted to make. Forgiveness wasn't easy, but understanding crept in. They sat in silence, the weight of truth between them. The marriage was fractured, maybe beyond repair, but for the first time, Ryan saw her clearly. The boardroom was tense. The next morning, Daniel sat confidently at the table, smug in his assumed control. Ryan stepped forward, calm but fierce, and began presenting, slide by slide. He laid out the betrayal. Gasps filled the room as Daniel's scheme unraveled before their eyes. Investors whispered, faces hardening against Daniel. For once, Ryan didn't hesitate, didn't shy away. His voice was steady, his resolve clear. The silence that followed was heavy, broken only by Daniel's stammering denial. But the evidence was undeniable. Ryan had turned the tables. The room belonged to him. Daniel's plan collapsed spectacularly. The rival company severed ties with him to avoid scandal. Investors rallied back to Ryan, praising his resilience and clarity. Daniel, once the man everyone trusted, was left disgraced and humiliated. The satisfaction was sharp, but not sweet. Ryan had saved his company. Yes, but the cost at home was heavier than he could carry. Emily sat quietly through it all, her face pale, her eyes distant. Public victory felt hollow when private life lay in ruins. The contrast gnawed at him, even as the board applauded. That night, Emily tried to explain, to mend what was broken, but words felt thin against the weight of betrayal. Ryan listened, torn between love and hurt. He didn't shout, didn't rage. Instead, he told her the truth. He wasn't sure if trust could ever return. The house felt quieter than ever, filled with things unsaid. Emily cried softly, and Ryan sat in silence, staring at the walls that once felt like home. Success in business meant little when the foundation of his marriage crumbled beneath him. The victory tasted bitter. In the weeks that followed, Ryan rebuilt his company's image, restoring faith in his leadership. Investors returned, and projects thrived. But at home, silence remained. Emily stayed, trying to repair what she had broken, but the gap between them was wide. Some days, Ryan believed healing was possible. Other days, he doubted. The betrayal had scarred too deeply. Yet, as he looked at his life, he realized something important. Fear had ruled him for too long. Now he faced everything head-on, even if the answers hurt. His future was uncertain, but he was no longer afraid.